So how do you hit that target on comparables in this market? Hey everyone, it's Mike Bond with Hard Money Mike, and I wanted to run through what do we look for and what should you look for when you're comping out properties in a market that's either flat or declining. Let's face it, we're in a different market right now. Most markets are either flat or declining a little bit. So how do you comp out a property if you're flipping it or even running it through BRRRR, just to make sure you know what it's going to look like when the appraiser comes out and does their job, when you need to refinance it or sell it? This is the time to change your approach on how you're looking at comps. Before, we just look at, anything that's sold in the last 3 to 6 months, but that's not your new market. In a declining market, you have to really look at a different indicator. That indicator is what's on the market. What is your new competition going to be when you go to sell it? So in the past 10 to 15 years, it's been easy because we could rely on 3 to 6 month, sold comps and have some good indication that's going to stay there or go up. This market has changed. So we now have to look at our new competition, which is the properties that are on the market. See what your competition is going to look like. Are there a lot of price adjustments, changes? Are there a lot of incentives coming out, buying down rates, paying closing costs? All of these things that are going to cost you money and make your deal just a little less valuable. So to hit this target with some clarity and certainty, let's change up what we're doing, what we're looking at. Number one, at the very most, we're going to look at comps that are 3 months old. But really, we're going to pull up and we're going to look at everything that's on the market. On the markets in your subdivision. We're going to get even more granular, looking at your properties in your subdivisions with the same square footage, the same beds and baths, everything that is there. And also, what do they look like? What's the repairs? What is the updates? What are you competing against? And especially the ones in the areas that there's a lot of declining markets, because that means it's going to be harder and harder to determine when those properties sell, which are going to be your new comps, what your value is going to be. In this market, we're pulling up what's happening in the sales market, what's happening for the properties on the market. And we're taking that into account to predict or at least get a glimpse in the future. And here's why. We see it every day here at Hard Money Mike. We had a client just this year buy a property in January. It's a fourplex. And when they comped it out, the valuation was strong. They were going to be able to get into it, refinance it, and have a true BRRRR. Fast forward 7 to 8 months, and guess what happened? The comps that she was using aged out, which means they're no longer within that 3 to 6 month time frame. So the comps the appraiser gets to use now actually deflated her valuation 20%. You can't use old comps that are more than 6 months old, especially if there's new comparables, new sales. And new sales happened. And those new sales that happened drove the price down. So instead of a valuation that was over $600,000, it came in right around $500,000. And that's all they could do. They could only use what's out there. And in a declining market, what you have to watch out for, your key indicator, what's on the market in the area that you're looking to buy. Pull up Zillow, put in the zip code, and see if there's a lot of properties on the market, because you're going to be competing against them. What kind of condition are they in? And what are the upgrades? Like I said, the beds, the baths, the square footage, the age of the property, the lot size. Make sure it's in the same location, meaning it's in the same subdivision. Subdivisions can be very close to each other, so you want to make sure you don't get faked out by a property that's selling for more, but it's in a different subdivision that offers different amenities, different things that people will pay more for. Everything has to be taken into account now because it's a buyer's market. It is not a seller's market. In a buyer's market, you have to be competitive in all those fronts, on price point, on rehab, making sure your beds and bathrooms are equal or greater. So you become the property that everyone wants to buy. You want to see what's happening to the market in your area, because what's on the market now is going to be your comps when you do that refinance or when you sell it. And you're going to have to take into account that the markets may be down 5–10% from where they are now. So comp that out. So maybe instead of a $300,000 comparable, you're at 270, you're 10% below that, and you have to run your numbers off of what it's going to be in the future. Another thing to look for is the price per square foot for those like properties. Take all these things into account before you put a property under contract. We want to make sure you have clarity and certainty when you get into a flip or even a BRRRR. And part of that is, what is the market going to be like in 6 months, maybe even 9 months? And it's hard to give real certainty with where the market's going. But the one thing you should know is the market is changing, and you need to change with that. If you want to make money at this game, we always talk about clarity and certainty in our industry. It starts with clarity. What do you want out of real estate investing. Most people want to create wealth and income. And if you don't know your numbers going into a project, it's more than likely it's going to come out not in your favor. You're going to lose money, or at least not make the money you're thinking. Smart investors in this market to hit their targets are watching what's on the market, using those as comparables, and even discounting them. That's how you're successful in a market like this. Know your numbers and be very conservative with your numbers. So to hit your targets in this market, make sure you don't use comps that are over 3 months old, but more likely use properties that are on the market, checking your markets, where a price is going, what's a rehab look like, what are the incentives that are happening out there. Know everything that you're going to compete against when you go to refinance or sell. And make sure you're using like comps in every sense. The markets or the subdivisions they're in, what are they next to? Are they next to a busy highway or are they next to a park? What are you looking at for your property compared to what's going to be a comp by the time you need that comp? And once you know your valuation, even cut it back 10%. Because if you want some certainty, if you want some clarity in this market, that's what you need to do to make money. Be selective, be patient, so you can make some profits. We're here to help you be more successful in real estate investing. So if you want to keep up, subscribe, like, and even forward this video to someone else that you're looking to help.